Before we even get to the verdict, this Texas courtroom turns into something straight out of a Wild West saloon, but with suits instead of cowboy hats. The case, a high-stakes murder trial involving defendant Steen Jail. The jury had just returned a guilty verdict, and moments later, chaos exploded. A full-on fistfight broke out right outside the courtroom doors, in front of jurors, lawyers, and the judge himself. Chairs were broken, punches thrown, and respect for the court tossed out the window. Now here's the thing. Courtroom fights aren't just embarrassing. They're a direct challenge to the authority of the court. And in Texas, that's not just frowned upon. It's criminal. So buckle up, because this isn't just about one guilty verdict. It's about how a single moment of rage can turn into months behind bars. And trust me, the judge in this case is not in the mood to hand out leniency.
And I see three people flailing, punching at each other at the doorway of this courtroom and breaking some of the chairs outside, but it was a free-for-all fist fight going on. Y'all three, I recognize all three. The court received a verdict from the jury in the case of Steven and Jail in a murder case, and the jury found the defendant guilty of the offense of murder as alleged in the indictment. So the court accepted the verdict and then broke for the lunch hour. And as participants and the jury and spectators were leaving the courtroom, this court saw some activity at the doorway, and I could see one or two bodies, and it was obvious that physical confrontation was going on at the doorway, inside the doorway, and at the doorway of this courtroom, as the court was still in session on this matter. I've reviewed a video, because we got videos everywhere, and I see three people flailing, punching at each other at the doorway of this courtroom and breaking some of the chairs outside, but it was a free-for-all fist fight going on. Y'all three, I recognize all three of you.
This is where the judge lays down the hammer, and he's not talking about the murder conviction anymore. When he says, "We're not cavemen," he's making it clear the justice system exists to replace primitive, emotion-driven retaliation with due process and the rule of law. A brawl in a courthouse isn't just bad optics, it undermines public trust. Think about it. If people saw fights like this every day, why would anyone believe in fair trials? Judges must maintain authority inside and right outside their courtrooms. That's why contempt of court exists, to punish behavior that disrupts justice. And in this case, the judge isn't waiting for anyone to press charges. He's pressing them himself.
This is a court of justice, a courthouse of justice, of honor. This is the last thing that should ever happen in this building, because we're trying to resolve problems in a humane and dignified and educated and advanced method. We're not cavemen, although you three acted like it, like we were back in the caves again, without any rules, without any sense of respect for each other. The proceedings moved forward in due process. The jury had their job, the attorneys had their job, and then we went through the penal code, the code of criminal procedure, and the rules of evidence to get to a disposition in this case, like we do in every case, using the rule of law, not fist fighting in front of the public. Can you imagine if this is what we did normally? We don't really need a building. We just meet and punch it out. We're not cavemen. We're supposed to be advanced thinkers. But not everybody thinks advanced thought. That's foolish. That was foolish. And I see assaults. Now, I understand that no one wants to press charges against anybody. But let me tell you this, I'm pressing the charges. You do it at the door of my courtroom while in session, you're going to get held in contempt of court. All three of you are charged with contempt of court. Carries with it up to 60 days in jail, 180 days in jail, 6 months. 6 months.
6 months in county jail. That's the maximum for criminal contempt in Texas. And unlike civil contempt, which is meant to force compliance, criminal contempt is about punishment. The judge is also emphasizing that this is constructive contempt, meaning it didn't happen right in front of him from the bench, but close enough to disrupt the proceedings and challenge his authority. That's a big legal point. It allows him to order arrests and schedule separate hearings to decide each person's punishment. So even though the main murder trial is over, a whole new set of legal battles has just begun.
And don't think I won't set an example, because this isn't going to be the kind of activity that decent, law-abiding, advanced human thought in America is supposed to be about. And it'll be made an example out of. And we got the video, and it didn't happen exactly in my presence. So it's going to be what's called constructive contempt. It still happened over this court's authority and power at the door of its courtroom while in session, which means I can't hold a hearing right now. But what I'm going to do is you're all arrested. You're going to go to jail, and we'll bring you back, and we'll have hearings on each of these cases, and I'll get to make the determination up to 6 months in the county jail. And don't you think I won't make an example, because this isn't the kind of behavior which you can do and then walk away from it as though nothing happened. We're supposed to set examples of behavior for all of us. And some of these cases have terrible situations. I presided over the James Byrd murder cases. I was one of the prosecutors. You don't think that was hostile? Because there were a lot of folks who felt like justice needed to be served in different ways. But we did the rule of law. The rule of law worked. Those people were prosecuted and then executed for what they did. You don't think that the experience and the sacrifices that we put in to see humanitarian ways of doing justice and the rule of law and due process works? Or is there another way? No, it worked so that the people knew that this Constitution, the flag, and the rules in the Constitution are something to be honored, that we handle our problems in a disciplined, mature, advanced method so that we are the example for the rest of the world. But that's not the way that worked out there in that doorway. All y'all did was that acted like the kids do at school grounds before we learned and get educated, duking it out there in front of everybody. People are here to resolve their problems in an honorable, disciplined way under the rule of law. What kind of example is?
Notice something here. There's no jury for these contempt charges. That means the judge himself will decide guilt and punishment. It's a bench hearing, not a trial, and it's entirely about whether these individuals' behavior warrants jail time. In other words, the same man they disrespected is now the one deciding their fate. Legally speaking, that's perfectly allowed for contempt proceedings. But it also raises the stakes emotionally. If you were one of these defendants, how confident would you feel right now?
That said, that y'all can duke it out and just flail at each other. But you got my attention, and you're gonna have hearings, each of you, and I'll get to make the decision, because you don't have a jury trial that's in front of me. And you can be ultimately sentenced in jail up to 6 months. Does everybody understand that? All of you? Okay, I need everybody's names. Yours first, sir.
Charles Nicholas Young.
All right. Spell your first name. Is it Charles?
Yes, sir.
Your middle name, sir?
David. David.
And surname, last name?
Nicholas, Nicholas.
And you, sir?
Charles Nicholas, Senior.
And you, sir? Your name?
Last name Angel. First name Steron.
How do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce it? Steron? Steron?
That'll do.
Okay, what we call this is what's called constructive contempt. That means it didn't completely happen in the court's view, but it happened where it disrupted the court's lawful duties in our hearings because it all occurred at this doorway. Turn your phone off, please. Thank you. It's called constructive or indirect contempt. And again, this is what's called criminal contempt rather than civil contempt, because you can be placed up to 6 months in the county jail. So all of you will be arrested. Each of you are going to be, there's a bond that I'm ordering of $1,000 in each case. For each case, I'm going to set this for a hearing in 4 to 6 weeks. And if you're unable to hire an attorney, one will be appointed to represent you. Are all of you going to be able to hire attorneys, or are you going to need appointed attorneys? Sir, you're going to hire somebody, and you, sir, Ms. Point, you want somebody? We're going to get you to fill something out. I need him to do an indigent form. If you're indigent or unable to hire somebody, one will be appointed immediately to help you. Okay.
Y'all hold on, we're gonna take him into custody properly before he fills that out. We'll take those cuffs off.
That will be done later. Okay. I think that's, you've been given notice of what you're charged with. And again, criminal contempt is punishable because it concerns an act which affronts the dignity and authority of the court. And the primary purpose of criminal contempt proceeding is to vindicate the public authority. And committing assaults in the doorway of a courtroom, where in this courthouse where justice is the determining goal in all of our proceedings in a dignified and non-hostile way of advanced human actions and thought. That's the way we're supposed to conduct ourselves. And every case has emotional issues. We never have problems like we had just a moment ago. And that cannot be tolerated, and it will not be. It will have its punishment attached to the actions. Does everybody understand? All right, that is all. We're in recess on this. Then you're all taken into custody, and $1,000 bond is ordered.
So here's where we land. 1 murder conviction, 3 contempt charges, bonds set at $1,000 each, and up to 6 months of jail time hanging over their heads, all because tempers boiled over in the worst possible place. The judge's message is crystal clear. Justice in America happens through the rule of law, not through fists. And whether you agree with his tough stance or not, it's hard to argue with the principle. The courtroom must remain a place of order, or the entire system starts to crumble. What do you think? Should judges come down hard on outbursts like this, or is there room for compassion when emotions run high? If you found this breakdown as shocking as we did, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more real-life courtroom showdowns you won't believe.